Hello, and welcome to Plugged In, a podcast by OREMC about our co-op, our community, and our shared connections. I'm Michelle Hutchins, your Director of Communications and Marketing. And joining me once again today are engineer James Allen and marketing and member service communications representative Royce Proctor. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I'm glad to have you here again. This time, we're going to talk about generators and generator safety. As you gentlemen are well aware, in the last 6 months, Okefenokee RMC service area has been impacted by one tropical storm, 2 hurricanes, and an ice storm.
Yes.
Quite the experiences, each having its own set of challenges. But one thing that was fairly uniform for all was that it left many of our members without power from anywhere from a couple of hours for some with the hurricane upwards of 5 days. And as a result of that, we've seen an uptick in interest in generators, which is obviously very well understood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we, in a previous conversation, talked about solar. You know, one of the points that's worth making is members who are considering what to invest in when it comes to their energy and backup energy options. I think all agree that a generator is potentially a much better investment.
Yes. If their key is looking for backup power, the generator is their best investment for the dollar.
Well, let's talk. You know, Okefenokee RMC does have a generator program in partnership with Gresco, who is a supplier of many of the parts and components that we use in building our distribution system and maintaining it. And that generator program has been in place now for just about a year, where, you know, it's a seamless. You can call them and they will take care of everything from call to install for you as an ORMC member, and then they work with us in terms of the interconnection side of things and supply side of things, typically using our yards to store generators as needed for more rapid installation when there is an inquiry. But not everybody does a whole house installation using that. Some use other licensed and authorized dealers. But let's talk about backup generators. Specifically, what does a backup generator do and how does it work?
Backup generator, it kind of is what it sounds like. It's a source of electrical power, generally speaking. That's what it's for. And usually it's going to consume some sort of fuel like natural gas, diesel, gasoline. And it's there for when utility power is not. That's what it's utilized for. And there are several different versions. You mentioned whole home. There are portable generators that can be used. And they're there really for you to be prepared in those situations.
Well, let's focus on the whole home because that's a much more permanent and detailed installation, and usually involves electricians and installers, all who are licensed and certified. Talk a little bit about how that process works, whether it's through Gresco or through a member using some other authorized dealer. I mean, the size of your home, the load you want to back up, all those things come into consideration.
First thing's to determine what size is going to be required for your home. So that's one of the big drivers on that is your air conditioning. The size of it is one of the major things. We can assist a little bit in that with our data, but our data is by the hour, not instantaneous. But it does give you some ideas.
So how big your home is, your load, and how much of your load, meaning your refrigerators, your microwaves, your lights, your heating, cooling system that you want to be able to use when the power goes out is going to help that installer best size the system or the generator.
That is correct.
That's
okay.
correct.
And I mean, does that mean someone has to come out to your house? Is this done on the phone? How does that typically work?
If you know the answers to give the person, for example, the size of your air conditioning. They could take in the size of your house, gives them an idea if you've got one air conditioning unit or multiple air conditioning units. So it can be done on the phone to a certain level, but detailed, they would need
So
to
in
come
most
to home.
instances, somebody's going to
Yes.
come to your home.
Yes, they
to
would need
size
to
it.
come look at the home.
Okay. So it's about the generator. It's about sizing it properly. And you mentioned, James, that various fuels, natural gas, propane, you said even diesel, whether you have that already or don't.
That's right. That's a major consideration because if you have a natural gas service at your home, it can be very attractive to utilize that as your backup generation source, as an example.
And then what are the other components to installing whole house generation? How does that work when the power goes out and the generator kicks on?
Generally is going to involve some sort of transfer switch. I'm strictly use them as an example, like a Generac setup is they have their own transfer switch that would come along with your generator. And effectively what it does is it serves your home on utility power. When it senses the power's out, it automatically on its own transfers over to generation, the local generation, your generator, and the generator fires up, and it's a very seamless transition. You know, your lights may go out for a few moments, but as the generator spins up and comes on, you'll be getting power almost within a few seconds.
Isn't it 15, typically a 15, maybe 30-second delay at most?
There's a slight delay, but no major inconvenience. And nothing you have to do on your part. You don't have to go out there and manipulate it in any way. It does it on its own.
Okay, so when you do whole house backup generation, it's a whole system installation.
That's right.
That, again, either you've called Gresco or you've called another authorized installer that's going to take care of all that and the interface with us. Because I do believe in the installation process, there is something that we have to be involved with as well. Is that correct?
Yes. There may be, especially wiring in transfer switches to do that properly, you may have to have what we would call a disconnect of some sort, and they will coordinate that with us.
It's really kind of a call to install handled by your contractor.
That's
typically.
Right. Usually.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
The one thing I would add, though, Michelle, is even if when the contractor coordinates it with us, our member still has to call to authorize anything to be done at their service.
Okay.
At their service location.
So there's usually some kind of notification
yes,
process.
they would have to notify us that it's okay for this work to take place.
I gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't want people running around cutting your power off.
That's right.
Well, and things like that
That's
are
right.
typically scheduled anyway,
That's right.
are
Yes,
they not?
they are.
Yes,
they are, but-
And a good authorized installer, licensed electrician, they're going to know that.
Sure, yeah. If they work on our
But
system
the member
regularly.
still has to call us, not
The
just,
member has
not
to
just
call.
the electrician.
Right.
That's
You can't
correct.
rely on someone else to do it for you. You as
That's
the
right.
member have to offer that
They have to
authorization.
authorize us to work with that electrician.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then, provided your generator is fueled up, it's going to run as long as the power's out. And then when power comes back on, I think it's even less seamless when that generator goes off.
Yeah, so for the most part, people, they generally realize they have power when the generator just shuts off, because the transfer switch will kind of do the opposite. It senses utility power, and there's a certain period of time it waits before it transfers over, because on the distribution system, if it's coming in and out as we restore power, you don't want to just switch over. But yeah, it'll switch over on its own, and the generator will begin shutting down, and you'll know you're on utility power at that point.
And the biggest reason you're going to know is because you're probably not going to hear that generator running.
That's right. That's the biggest reason. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So we are seeing more whole house generators being installed across our system. And like we said, we offer a partnership program to make that a little easier. But again, anyone is able to work with a licensed installer and do that. But we also see kind of a little bit less expensive alternative is a portable generator.
Sure.
Which that then in turn requires more coordination on the part of the member to figure out what they want to power at any given moment by plugging into that generator. So it's a whole very different scenario than having an automatic system installed. And I think there's some significant safety issues that we want to really talk about. So first of all, how do you know what is the right size portable generator to use at your home based on what you want to plug into it?
I think that kind of goes back to what Royce was saying. It's a similar analysis. You kind of need to know roughly what you want to power, and then roughly what the draw of those appliances. Usually, that's what people are after: refrigerators and things like that.
Lights and appliances.
Lights and appliances. And
Maybe window air conditioners.
Sure.
Not necessarily a whole HVAC system.
Correct. So you just want to know roughly, and most of those devices and appliances are going to have something on them that'll tell you roughly what the wattage is. And then it's a matter of kind of summing that up and then finding an appropriate size of generator to meet that need. Generally speaking, that's how you would go about it. Very similar to how an electrician is going to do it for a whole home setup.
Yes.
So, Royce, what do we typically see most people wanting to run on a portable generator?
Well, first thing everybody wants to run is maintaining your food freezers. That's the biggest thing they're after, and a television,
A television.
and some lights, and a microwave.
And air, and you can't necessarily do AC, but if you had a portable unit or
you could do it if you have window units, something like that. It it doesn't take a big portable generator to do that. And those are the main things. When you start, like I say, getting into running a big central unit,
then you need to look at.
You're going to get a substantial portable generator.
Oh, yes.
Well, and that rate, it's really not portable. You need to look into.
Right.
You need the whole house backed up.
You need to look into that.
If you're doing it when you're bringing in a portable, you should just be connecting with extension cords to everything.
Directly from the appliance.
Directly from the appliance to the generator.
That's correct.
Do not connect it into your home wiring system.
That's right.
You can't legally do that by code.
So.
And
I think there's some significant safety issues
very
messing with your
significant,
panel.
yes.
So if you're doing portable, you're just going to be plugging directly in. But it's important to know what you're plugging in because overloading a generator is going to cause problems.
That's correct.
Yes, that's right. So if you say you've sized this generator based on what appliances, what devices you want to run, and all of a sudden you start adding to it, you need to be very careful about that because you can overload a generator, and generally it can destroy the generator, but it can also cause some safety concerns, fire hazards, things like that. So you need to be very careful about loading the generator and what you're plugging into it.
And it can damage your appliance too.
That is true.
If
It
it's
can
not,
damage the
if
appliance.
you overload the generator,
That's
the
right.
voltage is not correct.
So if you're looking for a whole house, you really need to go the road of a whole house backup generator.
Absolutely.
If you're
Definitely.
looking to do a freezer, a refrigerator, microwave, TV, and some lights, a portable is probably enough to sustain you
Yes,
That's right.
over a duration of an outage from a couple hours to a day or so.
that's
Sure.
correct.
Well, there's some other safety issues too, as much as we want to keep things out of the elements, so to speak, portable generators have to be outside and away from the home. Is
That's
there
correct.
a recommended distance?
By fire code, it's 10 feet from a wall, 14 feet from a window or door.
Okay, and that would make sense. I would say generally recommend to keep it 15 feet or more if you can.
Yes.
If you can.
And away from windows.
That's what I
that's
said.
right.
Yeah, that's why I
Why?
say window or door.
Why do we keep
Because
it
of
away
carbon
from?
monoxide.
Carbon monoxide poisoning is a major concern when you're burning any type of fuel, but most commonly gasoline, which is
Yes.
what most portable generators are going to accept.
Yeah.
So, and that's very different again from the whole house.
That's
is.
right. That's right.
Okay. So good points. So what are some other safety issues that we need to be mindful of when using a portable generator?
I would definitely say fire hazards, saying that the exhaust on a lot of these portable generators gets very, very hot. I would be very careful about what I put next to the generator.
Okay.
I've seen people, there's been examples out there of people trying to cover them with tarps and things. I would be very careful about that
don't do
because
that.
that's a fire hazard for sure.
Well, they're built to be in the elements.
They are. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
be sure and read the operation manual of your portable generator,
That's correct.
especially when it comes to refueling and different things like that.
Yeah.
Storing your fuel, don't have it around your
true.
generator.
That's right.
Yeah, there's a lot of you got to be mindful. Read the instructions.
That's correct. Yeah.
And if you have questions, call, because
Yes.
I mean, and we're certainly willing to answer questions.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you mentioned something with the whole house backup generation installation that I haven't really heard you say relative to a portal, and that's a transfer switch. What is a transfer switch? What does it do, and why is it important? And do you need one with a portable generator? I know that's multiple questions rolled into one, so take them as they come, if you will.
Well, first of all, to explain what a transfer switch is, they come two ways, either manual or an automatic transfer switch.
Okay.
But the concept of it is it has a physical break from the power supplied by OREMC,
Okay.
and it moves over to your portable or whole house generator.
Installed generator. Okay.
Your generator power. So that there's actually a visible air gap
I gotcha.
in those transfer switches.
And it's required with the whole house installation.
It is required under NEC. That is correct. That's the purpose of the.
It's to separate it
to
from
separate
the
it
OREMC distribution
in a safe
system.
manner.
At the
That's
bottom, at the
correct.
end of the day, it's to keep if you're going to use a generator, you have to be disconnected.
That's correct.
So it's
Correct.
kind of like a big light switch,
That's
for
right.
lack
That's
of a
right.
better
That's right.
description. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. And so who installs one of those?
Typically, it's going to be your electrician,
Okay.
and it's got to be done, like I say, in accordance with NEC and your county permitting. Requirements there.
Now, is a transfer switch required with a portable generator?
Well, I would say if you're in the instance of using an extension cord to power freezers or things like that, no. But if you want your portable generator to be able to be used on your home panel, the house wiring, yes, you would need a form of transfer switch, usually manual. In that instance, it's
Yes.
going to be
So
manual.
with a portable, when it's most
With
it's
a
gonna be
portable, it would be manual.
manual. So you have to physically flip that switch,
Yes.
then switch to your generator.
That's correct. Yeah.
So what are the other things that members need to be mindful of if they want to use a generator and making a decision between the two?
Cost is obviously going to be a major consideration. Whole home generators are generally going to be significantly more costly. However, it does add in that convenience of automated transfer switches, more seamless transition. If that's appealing and it's within your financial situation, that may be something worth looking at. Portables are going to run less money overall, but
The generator itself.
the generator itself, and that's very attractive for a lot of people. But there are significant drawbacks, like what we just mentioned. It's very, very difficult to run a central heat and air unit, things like that. They're generally not sized large enough in most homes for that to be the case. Also, the convenience of fueling. Some portable generators do allow for like a propane connection, but like I said, if you have a natural gas service, it's very easy to store up enough fuel to utilize that generator.
because that would be on
long-term.
some sort of automatic delivery or just
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
there, correct?
Yeah, if your home already has natural gas for your heating or water heating or
Stove.
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 Yeah, that's right.
then it's very convenient to just be tied into the natural gas. But in a lot of our rural areas, natural gas isn't available.
Sure, it may not be.
And
That's right.
I think
Fuel
it's
fuel
pros.
options are going to be on small generators, gasoline on the
Usually,
on,
some diesel
portable.
options.
yeah.
But yeah.
If you get very very much size, it's going to be either propane or diesel.
Mm-hmm.
Most of your generators that are propane can be the natural gas or propane,
That's correct. Yeah.
but propane and natural gas are a lot less maintenance requirements because most of the time your generator's sitting idle. It's not running every day.
Right.
So almost all of them have an exercise program where they come on once a week for 15, 20, 30 minutes and to exercise the system. But with diesel fuel, it has more of a maintenance issue.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, we do sometimes hear horror stories about generators, portable generators, not the
Yes.
other type, but portable generator fires or creating issues with a member's, connection to the house. Why do things like that occur sometimes?
Usually because of an improper connection or installed connection. Again, just to reiterate Royce's point, we strongly recommend that if you want some sort of transfer switch or you want that portable generator to be able to be wired into your house, to have a licensed electrician who will wire it up to code.
Okay.
There are situations, where people try to do that themselves and they end up causing, issues. Fires is a huge one.
Or destruction of appliances.
Destruction of appliances. And we absolutely want, our members to avoid that. So we always recommend in those situations with portable generators specifically, a whole home, it's almost guaranteed you're going to have a licensed electrician.
Right.
But in the case of portables, definitely, if you want that to be connected to your home, have a licensed professional come look at doing that.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, one of the things that's simple is inspect your cords. If you got
A
using
nick,
Your extension cords,
yes,
yeah.
make sure they're first. Make sure
condition.
they're big enough to run what you want to run,
yeah,
and make sure they're inspect them. Make sure there's no damage, no fraying or anything, and only use a cord long enough to run your appliance.
yeah.
Don't plug 100-foot cord in if you only need to go 20 feet because you've got it. It really
Adds
it
resistance.
really degrades
Yeah.
the amount of load that cord can carry.
Well, and so here's a couple of questions then. Sometimes extension cords have those multi-plug prongs
Oh yeah,
on the end.
multiple
mean,
plug-ins on the end.
It should be one cord
Yes.
per appliance or
That would
Per
be
plug-in,
best.
yeah.
Yes.
circuit that you're trying to operate.
Don't exceed the capacity of the cord.
That's right.
Okay. So even though you can do that for your Christmas lights, you do not want to be doing
No, you don't.
doing-
You don't want to plug in 3 refrigerators and 2 freezers to one cord.
Yeah. you
Okay.
can run
No,
into
but
some
I
issues.
mean, I think that's important to realize because that's your typical extension cord. It allows you to hook up multiple things,
Sure.
but in this instance, that is going to overload your portable generator.
Very, very possible, and
Yeah.
and potentially the wire, depending
Oh,
on the
yes.
appliances attached to it. So yeah.
Like I say, that in turn can damage your appliance as well. But the other thing is if you're using a portable, you can cycle your appliances.
So you can unplug one. And,
Yes, run the freezer for a while to get it down to temperature. Typical freezers will typically keep for over 24 hours
Sure.
as long as you're not opening and closing them.
Sure.
So if you run the freezer for 2 or 3 hours on the generator and you got the temperature down in it, then you can switch and run other things.
Like your refrigerator so that you can
yeah,
open
your
and close that
refrigerator
door.
you need to run pretty constant because that temperature, you don't have a lot of room on that temperature. But if you've got a sub-zero freezer, until it gets above 32 degrees, you're not thawing out.
Sure.
Right.
So
Okay, so multiple options
Yes.
members have in terms of it. It sounds like one of the biggest factors in deciding what generator is right for you is a cost issue. Whole house, offers much more seamless transition from when the power is out to when your generator comes on and then back again. Requires a bit more of an investment up front, but payback is, I think, I know with the Gresco plan, I want to say the average investment's about $12,000.
Sure.
And then the payback on
That's
that
right.
is typically 3 to 5 years, something to that effect. So, it's yes that you have to be again mindful, as we have said with other things. How long are you going to live there? How old is your house? What do you really what do you really want to do? And, one of the things we haven't talked about at all is is medical essential services.
Sure.
Oh,
If
sure,
you
sure.
have someone in your home
Yes.
who depends on some sort of medically essential device, be it oxygen or some other device,
Yeah.
one of the things that we hear with approaching storms is yes, these members can register with emergency management in their counties to talk about the fact that then local officials are aware that they have that. We're aware because we have medically essential forms that we ask members to fill out just for an awareness factor. But at the end of the day, if you're really dependent on that, you definitely need to make some other plans.
Yes.
And in the instance of power outages due to storms, albeit a summer thunderstorm that does major damage, or a hurricane or an ice storm, because
That's right.
well, we've now had two in 7 years. A generator might be a great option to help you make sure you
Absolutely.
can stay in your home.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just like everything else, you need to know what that equipment requires and how much power
Yes.
you need to be able to plug into.
Absolutely. That's a great point. That's something that leading up to this, I had thought about. If you do, like you said, if you have medically essential things that require electricity, this is probably the best investment you can make, is having
Yes.
backup generation. That's it. It's almost indescribable as how important that is, really, and because we try our best. I know Royce worked with line crew for years. I've worked in engineering. We try our absolute best to keep the lights on, but the reality is, as you've mentioned with storms, is just different. So,
And in our storm restoration plans, we look at priorities,
Sure.
medical issues, and all of that. But if you're on the end of the line, we've got to get the whole line rebuilt
that's right.
and repaired before we
right.
can even get to you. I mean, the priority, yes, we give you all the priority we can give you, but that doesn't mean you're going to be first back on.
That's right.
And that's
It-
by virtue of how we
It's
Right.
the nature of the way the system
Is built.
are built.
because if you can't energize your line, if there's nothing energizing to feed
That's
it.
correct.
That's right. That's
Yep.
right.
And that's the
So-
part that's sometimes hard for everyone to
Yeah,
understand.
we've got to basically restore from our substations out. We
Yep.
can't go to the end of the line and restore power
Backwards.
until the
Right.
front end of us re-energized.
Well, and I think you both make a great point. I mean, our crews do work diligently and tirelessly when there is a
Yes,
major
they
outage.
do.
I mean, they absolutely are out there. And, we may say, okay, it's time, you need to take a break for safety reasons, because
Sure.
you can only work for so long for
That's
safety
right.
reasons. It's much more important to take a break, rest, and get back at it. But, I know our guys are very committed to trying to just get one more member on in some of those situations, because they know how important it is.
Absolutely.
And yes, so a generator can offer a bit of peace of mind, whether
Sure.
again it's going to power your whole home in the case of an outage, or it's going to power just enough so that you can be comfortable and stay in your home. And kind of back to the medically necessary, I think in a lot of those instances too, there are mobility issues, and there is no place like home. So it is something to think about, but
Absolutely.
to be mindful of what's best for you. Use a licensed electrician.
Absolutely.
And if you've got questions, to just call us. You all are the energy experts, and you are here to answer member questions. So we want members to be aware of what's available to them, but to do so safely.
Absolutely.
That's the goal.
That is the
Everybody
goal.
go home safe.
So is there anything else about generator and generator safety that we didn't cover that we need to touch on before we wrap up this episode of Plugged In, since we're literally talking about being plugged in?
Yeah. One thing to be mindful of, and this one's a little more, I'll say it probably not at the top of the priority list, but I would be careful moving around generators. They're generally very heavy, and I think a lot of people don't realize that when they go to lift, and I've seen people get hurt trying to lift on them, specifically people that already have maybe a compromised joint or something.
I gotcha.
Just be cognizant of that kind of thing. It it's easy to forget when you're trying to lift on things and move things around and stuff like that.
Well, and I think that gets back to the point that, again, if you're using a portable generator, there's a lot more planning in advance of a
Yes.
potential
Yeah,
outage
yes.
that comes into play
Mhm.
than if you have a whole home backup installed one.
That's correct.
You, as we've talked about, you need to make sure you have the fuel. You need to make sure you store that fuel away from your generator. You need to make sure your generator is located in a place that is far away from the home and windows. You don't want to be figuring all that out in the midst of a major hurricane or sliding on ice or that's not the time to set things up.
That's right. Yeah. It
So-
needs to be well ahead of time.
I mean,
That's
one
right.
thing as simple as when was the last time you saw the receptacle for your refrigerator? It's behind the refrigerator.
That's
to get to
correct.
it, you got to pull the refrigerator out.
So,
Same way with a freezer.
yeah.
So there's a lot of
A lot more planning
you got
involved.
to plan.
Yeah.
Right. And then as much as, and we say this in all the time, as much as we want to say there'll never be an outage, the reality is so much is out of our control.
Absolutely.
Mother Nature being key among them.
Absolutely.
So, there's storms and there's winter storms and there's hurricanes and then there's other animals can cause outages,
Yeah.
some of which can
Oh,
be
yeah.
very major. And then vehicles. Unfortunately, there are times when there are accidents where vehicles collide with a pole, break a pole. That also can cause a very long duration
It can.
outage.
Depending on the pole, it can cause a very significant outage.
Yes. As you mentioned earlier about thunderstorms, in my career, probably the worst thunderstorm I've ever seen happened last year in Baker County.
Oh, yes, we had the Mother's Day storm
I've
of
never seen
2024. Yes.
that intense damage to the power system by a thunderstorm.
It was a 3-day event.
It was a huge thunderstorm that affected multiple utilities, not just Okefenokee.
Oh,
C.
right.
But in a 40-year career, that was by far the worst
Well,
thunderstorm.
I do
I've
recall
ever
that,
seen.
and I remember that cloud wall rolling in, and it was big and black and very quick moving.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
That to give you an idea, that intensity in that location was greater than any of our hurricane tropical storms. The number of poles that were lost on our system in that area far exceeded any of our storms.
Right. So to your point, so while we typically think of the big things that we anticipate
right.
could cause an outage, generators are useful to have on hand when the unexpected happens
That's
as
correct.
That's
well.
right.
And any run of the mill summer thunderstorm can result in that, as is we've also described just some unforeseen situations,
That's
be
right.
it an animal or a vehicular collision. So we understand why members want to have the backup power, and if you're going to use a portable generator and have a transfer switch, always call and ask questions if you have them, and always use a licensed electrician.
Yes. That's right.
All right, well,
Yes.
gentlemen, thank you for the clarity and the recommendations, and again, we're here as your energy experts. Please don't hesitate to call, and we'll get you connected with the right person to answer your questions. Thanks, everybody, and take care.